Hello, is there anybody out there that can hear me? Because I can't hear anything the board's saying.
I can hear you, but I couldn't hear the pledge.
That's true. Me too. I can hear you. I cannot hear the board.
How do we let them know we can't hear them?
I'll send a message.
Oh, thank you.
They've been informed. They're working on it.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We are still waiting to hear the board.
Can you hear us now?
Yes. Thank you.
Our pleasure. Good to go.
We all good to go? All right, we're going to start today's meeting on the 4th of March at 9:10 with a proclamation of the Board of Supervisors of Trinity County recognizing March 2025 as Social Workers Month. Whereas people have entered the social work profession for generations because they generally care about helping improve the welfare of people, families, communities, and our nation. Whereas this year's Social Work Month theme, social work, compassion plus action, embodies the fact that social workers go through years of education and training so they have the skills and expertise to transform their care for others into actions that bring positive results. Whereas a social worker follows a code of ethics which sets as the primary mission of the social work profession the enhancement of human well-being and meeting the basic needs of all people, with particular attention to the needs and empowerment of those who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty. Whereas the social work profession is one of the largest groups of mental health care providers in the United States, with more than 800,000 people expected to be employed at the as social workers in 2033. Whereas social workers work in all parts of our society, including schools, social services, agencies, veteran services, and government. helping people, family, and communicate secure services and policies they need to thrive. Whereas social workers are at the forefront of processing issues our nation is addressing, including increasing needs for mental health care, especially for children and adolescents, in substance use disorder treatment, and interest in economic and political divisions. Whereas social workers help protect vulnerable elders and children from the abuse and neglect, provided services and support which help strengthen individuals and families that are under stress. Whereas in recognition of the numerous contributions made by our community's adult child welfare social work team, Trinity County Board of Supervisors proclaims the month of March 2025 as National Social Work Month and call upon all citizens to join the National Association of Social Workers and Trinity County Health and Human Services in celebration and support of the social work profession. Duly passed and adopted on the 4th day of March. Way too early. I'm not even done.
Oh, wait.
I'm done.
Okay. Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Liz Hamilton, Director of Health and Human Services. I'd like to just give a thank you to our staff in both adults and children's services who are here today. And so I'm going to hand over time to Amy Scribner and Angie Berglund, who are the managers of their respective units. They're going to share a little bit more. They have both been with Health and Human Services 10 years. I'll highlight that Amy has been with the county, we think 28. So, yeah, just an investment in our community is what I want that to reflect. And so I'll invite them up now. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Today I stand before you to bring awareness to the invaluable role social work has on our community. Social workers navigate situations every day that many people would turn a blind eye to. They advocate for the most vulnerable members of our community. They work tirelessly to ensure that our children and elderly live in safe home environments, free from abuse and neglect. From investigating reports of maltreatment to creating case plans that prioritize the well-being of children and families, their dedication is unwavering. Social workers are responsible for assessing the safety and needs of families, connecting them to essential resources such as mental health services, substance abuse treatment, or housing assistance. They advocate for systematic changes that address the root causes of addiction, instability, and insecurity, working toward a community where every child and family has the opportunity to thrive. Social workers serve as a beacon of hope, instilling trust and building relationships with families, empowering them to overcome obstacles and rebuild their lives. They exhibit compassion, patience, and resilience, qualities that are essential in creating an environment where children and families can thrive. Each success story, a child reuniting with their family, a family finding stability, or a young adult transitioning to independence, reflects the impact of their work. Child Welfare Services has 2 social worker supervisors, 6 social workers, 1 social service aide, 2 office assistants, and 1 program manager. In 2024, Child Welfare received 190 child abuse reports. We conducted 70 child abuse investigations, and 70% of children successfully reunified with their parents. In addition to formal interventions, Child Welfare offers independent living services, child abuse prevention services, such as our differential response program, and approves resource family homes, which were formerly called foster homes. Child Welfare Services staff also do a lot of driving. In 2024, they drove 34,371 miles, sometimes driving up to 7 hours one way just to ensure the safety of one child. They work nights, weekends, and holidays. In 2024, child welfare staff and APS staff worked 650 hours of overtime, spent 6,396 hours on call. As we reflect on the significance of social work, let us recognize the impact it has on our community as a whole. By supporting families and nurturing our children, social workers help build stronger, healthier communities. In closing, please join me in honoring the commitment, compassion, and expertise of social workers. Their unwavering dedication uplifts vulnerable children and families and helps to heal wounds and generational trauma and builds a brighter future for us all. Let us support their efforts and recognize them for the profound impact they have on our community.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Much like what Angela said about social workers and child welfare, adult services differs in that we deal with older adults and adults with disabilities. Many times we are meeting our clients at their worst part of their life, and the social worker must think out of the box to get them the help that they deserve to live a better life. With respect to the client's own autonomy, we gently make suggestions and referrals to services they may not know exist. Adult Services has 4 major programs. Adult Services, programs like Adult Protective Services. This program investigates reports of allegations and neglect or abuse. In 2024, we had a total of 229 reports that social workers responded to. Other programs such as in-home supportive services. IHSS is designed to keep people out of nursing homes, and with providers, they can remain safely in their homes. We have 1 intake social worker who completed 44 new cases last year. We have an ongoing team of 2 who process ongoing cases and a caseload of 245 cases. Public administrator handles our providers for IHSS, and this includes onboarding them, teaching them about the program, and what they can and can't get paid to do. We currently have 487 individual providers for Trinity County. The majority of those work for family members who only work for their family members. Our last program is Public Guardian. Public Guardian comes into play when a person lacks capacity and cannot meet their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter, and there is no family to help. Then an investigation begins to see if the person needs to be conserved or if other services can be put into place to avoid conservatorship, such as IHSS or RET payee. A doctor must assess this to see if the client lacks capacity. If it is agreed upon that the person lacks capacity, then documents are provided to the courts and the client has the right to have an attorney appointed. After the judge reads all the documentations, they decide if what is in the best interest of the client. A conservatorship can be just of the person and or the person estate. Currently, we have 17 clients conserved, and 10 of those clients are on our RET payee services, meaning that we manage their finances. It is not uncommon to have ongoing cases in APS ranging from a few months up to as long as 10 years in some cases. Currently, I have 2 case-carrying social workers, 4 social workers, 1 social services aide, and 1 office assistant. We all work as a team with compassion and empathy to help the most vulnerable clients of Trinity County. Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the proclamation as presented.
Second.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Litweiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
Chair, if I could, before we take the picture, I want to acknowledge that this isn't just a resolution of appreciation, which we do annually, but in what you ladies have provided to us, we also have received education and an update really on what has happened this last year. Within that, I heard hope, I heard empowerment, and I heard compassion in amongst all of the pieces. And I would say that an axiom that's true is you don't know what you have until you don't have it. Sometimes you don't know what you have until you need it and it shows up. And I have experienced that not in this world, in this county here, but in another county where family lived and hospice was needed, and social workers were a piece of that, bringing components I had no idea existed. And when they show up, you realize just how supported you are. And in those situations where there is no family, or family is unable for whatever reason, the fact that we have folks in place, trained, dedicated, and supporting our community is huge. I'm grateful that we do take this time to acknowledge this collectively, kind of seal it, if you will, with a board resolution, and just want to thank each and every one of you. I heard a lot of overtime hours, a lot of on-call time. The responses and the work that you do is in the shadows many times and is enormously important to our community. So thank you.
Could I say thank you? I want to thank you. As I learn as a new board member, it's really neat to see the extent of what you do. I know the miles you drive because I drive many myself. Thanks for your dedication, your selflessness, and helping this community.
Ready? Gotta be us. We're good? All right. All right, we will move into, good morning. We will move into the public comment section.
Wait, we've got another presentation.
One more time?
Forces.
Oh, Ben, sorry. We talked earlier. I forgot all about you. Go ahead. We have a update from the U.S. Forest Service representative regarding matters and interests in Trinity County. Ben, how are you?
Doing good. So good morning, Chair and board members. Ben Sundahl, Deputy District Ranger for the Yobola, Hayfork, Big Bar, and Weaverville Ranger Districts of the Trinity National Forest. Here this morning to provide you guys a quick update on some of the happenings, current events across the entire west side of the forest. So first, Tara and I would like to extend our congratulations to the Trinity County student athletes who were very successful this past weekend and congratulate them on their section championships. So awesome job. So a few changes. Tara and I would like to thank Fred Perrin, who was detailed as the Deputy District Ranger while Tara was on detailed at Alaskan and I was detailed in a District Ranger role. Fred did an amazing job for us on the west side and for the forest and for our local communities. He has now returned to his regular duties as one of the engineers for the forest. And we're just thankful for Fred and his time. As you know, there are a lot of changes within the federal government at this time. We want you to know that the Trinity National Forest remains focused on reducing the risk of wildfire to our local communities and contributing positively to the local economy. We are working to navigate the changing conditions while we stay focused on our mission of caring for the land and serving the people. Quick update on fire staff. We wanted to highlight our fire staff that pre-deployed and deployed to Southern California for the wildfires in the LA area at the beginning of the 2025. We sent the numerous engines down along with several overhead positions for incident management teams to help battle those historic blazes. Fire staffing continues to improve across all 4 ranger districts on the west side. Our current staffing efforts are projected to staff all of our engines and fully staff our hotshot crew to over 20, which will also, we will also be looking to fully staff our fuels crew to their max of 10 individuals. It's still early in the process. We're currently going through another fire hire event for permanent employment, and things are looking promising for this upcoming fire season around fire staffing levels for all the fire modules on the west side of the Shasta National Forest. Planning efforts continue with Barman, High and Palm, South Fork Mountain, and Phase 2 of the Weaverville Community Forest project. We're looking at completion of those planning efforts this spring. These projects collectively will authorize 18,000 acres of fuels reduction and forest health treatments. We plan to scope a Big Ranch in May of 2025. Quick update on the Minersville boat ramp. Plans have reached a 60% threshold, which, however, we have asked them to the team and the contractors working on this to take another look at the parking options at the boat ramp. The new plans incorporate some limited additional parking, and we are asking to look at additional options that give more parking options to that area. We continue to work to incorporate the public feedback into the planning process to extent possible. We're also working through numerous special use permit requests across the west side, and that team has quite the large workload. Extend appreciation to the work of the Trinity County Collaborative Group. As you likely know, we meet with them monthly, either via Zoom or in person on regular field trips to our project locations. Transfer of the management of Trinity Lake and Lewiston Lake from the Shasta Lake NRA is still scheduled for end of May 2025, and that will be underneath the administrative oversight of the Trinity River Management Unit come June 1st. Public comment period will be ending on March 17th for the Northwest Forest Plan revision. Switching gears to implementation, our staff have burned over 1,200 acres thus far in fiscal 25. Those efforts continue today on both units. So we're currently burning here in Weaverville, and we'll also be burning on the South Fork Management Unit as well, as weather allows. Implementation work is expected on High and Palm, Bowerman, Trinity Camps, and Petty John this field season. And we also continue to work in the pilot project area and Trinity IRSC. Relationships, we want to continue to thank our partners for their good work and support of our mission. We also want to let you know that we are working with Jamie Green of the Trinity Elk School District to identify partnership opportunities to get Trinity County youth into their national forest, helping us implement fuels and reduction treatments. So between our timber and fire staff, we have lots of conversations going on there to kind of develop those programs to where we can interact more and provide training and education, and then get those folks out into the field to learn forest health job-related skills. So some pretty exciting stuff right there. Recreation, our recreation staff is continuing to evaluate and repair our trails and infrastructure from past fires. We are currently lining up our partner and volunteer wilderness trips into the Trinity Alps Wilderness and Yollabola Wilderness. Our staff are working to prepare our developed recreation facilities for this operation, for operations this summer. This work includes annual hazard tree evaluations and mitigations. I know it was short and sweet, but sometimes short and sweet's okay. Any questions? I'm sure there's a ton.
I just have one, I guess. With the federal cuts and the cuts that we're seeing now, are you seeing a percentage? Do you have a feel for what might be coming your way or our way?
So we did receive some talking points that we can share. So nationally, we've seen roughly 2,000 employees impacted by those staffing cuts changes across the agency. The Shasta Trinity was not immune to some of those staffing cuts. The numbers on this force have fluctuated, so we don't really, we're not able to share true numbers quite yet on this force, but nationally, 2,000 people have been impacted by those staffing cuts across the agency.
What percentage of that?
I could not do that math at the top of my head right now. I had to look at the current staffing levels of the Forest Service and then compare that number with the 2,000 nationally that have been impacted by that staffing cut.
All right. Well, let's hope it doesn't hit us too hard,
Yeah,
or you,
it's a very fluid situation
to
right now.
So the-
say the least.
The frozen funds, are you getting any kind of a feedback on those?
So yeah, regarding the frozen funds, so regarding contracts and agreements, we have started to see some movement in those funds around the contracts. We're still waiting on further guidance and direction and just to see what trickles down from the DC office around funding tied to agreements. But for the most part, those are still paused at this time. Yep.
Hey, and Ben, thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the piece about Minersville.
Mhm.
Is that, I'm trying to remember where we left off when we had our meetings up in Trinity Center last year. It seemed like we were about in the same place where we were about that 60% and we were working on parking. So are we kind of still in the same position?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. I was not part of those meetings.
Sorry.
And these were just the notes that were handed to me
Okay.
this morning. So hearing some of the outcome of that meeting, some previous meetings yesterday, talking to Tara, it sounds like, yes, we're at that 60%. Still discussions on what parking should look like at Minersville. And we had some input on what parking should look like. So hopefully the engineers can kind of digest some of that info we shared with them and come back to us with additional plans to our forest engineer and keep that ball rolling.
And what would be the next step that the public could expect in terms of progress and maybe them seeing the next round of parking options and so forth?
Yeah, so once we get all that information and engineering is satisfied with that, that information should be able to be shared. Yeah,
Any guess on timing?
I have no comment on the timing.
Okay.
It's just everything right now is just so fluid. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, once we know, we will let you guys know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll share that information.
I know when they were giving us updates in the past, the holdup was primarily that it wasn't just Forest Service, go do your work and engineers see what you can come up with. It was now engage the water board and make sure that they're okay, because this basically what we're asking for, the water board has to really make an exception for, is my understanding. So,
Yeah, there's
okay, just sounds like
a few key.
not much progress yet, but
Yeah.
it's not off our radar.
Nope.
Okay,
Still
thank you.
moving the ball forward.
Just one question about the motorized vehicle project that you're working. I'm not familiar with that up in South Fork.
Yep.
Could you explain just briefly what that will entail? How many, if it,
So
Little
the
impact.
South Fork Motorized Trails Project is a partnership with us in the Watershed Center.
Okay.
They're leading out on the NEPA. That is to officially designate some existing trail systems in that area as OHV trails.
good,
Yep.
good. Thank you.
Are we good?
Thank you.
Ben, thank you. And obviously, as soon as you hear about any cuts or anything coming our way, let us know as soon as you can.
Yep, and then I will send these notes out to you guys as soon as I get back to my computer. Sorry, I didn't get to them this morning. It was a couple prescribed fire calls this morning, and I was like, oh, it's time to go next door. So, but thankfully the folks are out burning today and tomorrow, so that's good to see. Yep. So appreciate your time and have a great day.
Ben, thank you.
Thanks.
We will now move into public comments. This time is for, you want me?
You're not done.
This time is for information from the public on matters not appearing on this agenda or within the consent calendar. All comments are limited to 3 minutes and must pertain to matters within the jurisdiction of the board. When addressing the board, please state your name for the record and address the board as a whole through the chair. No action or discussion will be conducted on matters not listed on the agenda. However, the chair may refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up or schedule the matter on subsequent board agendas. And apparently, we have some public.
I have a public comment. This is mostly for the county council, but on the front part of the agenda, you have in compliance with the American with Disability Act, these required accommodations of this meeting should be notified and should notify the deputy board clerk at the county administration office 3 full business days prior to the meeting. Well, yesterday was day 3, Friday was day 2, Thursday is day 1. So you need to post your agendas on Wednesday so people have 3 days to get a hold of the board. Or, and of course, if Friday and Monday are holidays, that makes a crimp in it too. So it's just something you guys need to think about if you're gonna meet the ADA.
Thank you. Kelly, good morning.
Good morning, board. Thank you very much for having me this morning. I am Kelly Sheen. I'm the district manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District, and I intended to provide a little context and follow up to Ben's report as it pertains to our organization and how we're being impacted by the federal funding freezes and by the kind of mass terminations within the federal government. I've been empowered by my board of directors to make public comments to this effect so that we can educate the public about what this actually is looking like to those of us that are working on the ground here. Again, Trinity County Resource Conservation District. We are a district that is completely 100% grant funded. We work with our partners, particularly with federal funding, federal partners such as the Forest Service and BLM, as they manage 75% of our county. When we talk about the federal funding freeze, that only impacts 2 specific pieces of legislation and the allocations that were contained therein. The first being the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which has now become the IIJA, which I don't remember the acronym for, but those 2 pieces of legislation were passed under the Biden administration and provide a great deal of resource funding with regard especially to wildfire mitigation. Our organization has both agreements that are in place and executed, as well as we're awaiting execution of agreements through the Community Wildfire Community Wildfire Protection Grants, Defense Grants, sorry, CWDG, and to the tune of about $8 million. We have quite a significant amount of other funding that's also tied back to those 2 pieces of legislation, totaling about $12 million to our organization alone. The Trinity PUD has another $10 million that's tied up that would have been implementation money for their RAP project, wildfire risk and protection project, which is the power line clearing project. And then we have the county's Good Neighbor Authority, $2.9 million, and then an additional $21 million to other entities. So totaling $45 million at risk. We hope, and I've seen some, I've heard, I guess, from Supervisor Heidi Carpenter Harris that there is a glimmer of hope that that money will actually be released. So but that is, the ability for our partners to work with us and to provide planning, which is critical for the projects to move forward, is very important. So that will definitely be impacting us. We don't know what the larger impacts of that will be.
Kelly, thank you very much.
Yep. And I would appreciate people, reaching out to their elected officials if they have concerns about this funding not coming to our county. So thank you very much for your time.
Kelly, thank you. Any other public comment in the room? Zoom?
Demetrio,
Hello, this is Tiffany Thurman calling from Hayfork. How are you today? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Great. I need to inform everybody in Trinity County that the Trinity County Water Board has approved a lease contract with a Verizon, probably cell tower, to be put in next to our proposed water treatment plant. This was done last week. The board voted almost unanimously to pass this. After a month ago, they voted not to pass it. But given a month, Verizon sent over their spin doctors, their specialists, their paid contractors to explain to the board how this was really a great deal for Hayfork, that we were going to get $1,200 a month, and that would offset costs of water. But nothing was really talked about as far as the dangers of EMF radiation to the wildlife, to the people who live around there, not to mention to our water. And if you don't understand how a microwave oven works, I'll give you a really quick. It sends out frequencies that are in resonance with the water molecule. And so these frequencies, because they're in resonance with the water molecule, they happen to interact tremendously with them. We humans are made out of over 70% of water. So this is kind of the big concern about electromagnetic fields. And the big tech people, they even have electromagnetic field exclusions. They're clear and common in most of their insurance companies. It's applied as a market standard. It serves to exclude cover for illnesses caused by long-term EMF exposure. This is going to put 24/7 microwave energy into our town's water supply. This is straight from the history books of lead, tobacco, and DDT. Electromagnetic radiation is not safe. Federal law prohibits states and local counties from regulating where cell towers are put based on environmental effects of RF radiation, as long as the emissions are within the FCC radiation guidelines. These guidelines were set in 1996. They only look at heating of the tissues. They don't even consider that children heat up probably twice as fast as adults. There's so much wrong with this. You must put an emergency moratorium on all cell tower installations. And you have to have this moratorium.
Tiffany, thank you very much.
Get your health safety ordinances put in place. That's all I have to say. There's so much more. Please listen.
Thank you very much.
Ben,
Good morning, board and staff. I hope everyone's having a good day. Today, I'd like to speak about a topic that I've spoken to about in the past, which is blight within Weaverville. As we all come into town, we still see all of the broken down vehicles, wannabe Caltrans signs expounding different viewpoints and things like that. You go down on the right-hand side in the same area and you've got, the same stuff being on boards that have to do with commerce in this county. that's not the type of thing that we want visitors coming in to Weaverville and Trinity County to see. And I don't understand why we're not doing more as far as code enforcement when it comes to these types of things. Are we afraid of the people that are owners of these properties? I'd like to cite, I did a little bit of Googling. I'd like to cite Red Bluff's blight ordinance, which is 15.2 for anyone who wants to go out and Google and look at it. And it's quite comprehensive. It talks about, you know, properties inadequately maintained, properties that create a dangerous condition. These are private properties. These aren't commercial properties. So when people tell me we can't do anything because it's private property, that's not true. You all need to be able to do something about this. And all you have to do is take a look at this blight ordinance and put something on the calendar and craft it to something that you all would like if this is an issue with current ordinances that have gaps in them. Because it's ridiculous that we have to look at, as Trinity County residents, year after year, stuff like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else on Zoom?
No new raised hands.
Okay, then we will move into reports and announcements. Department heads in the room. I saw Tim.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Morning, board. Haven't been here in a while for a update, so I figured I'd sit down. I'm getting old. I don't want to stand that long.
That's not fair, Tim.
What, you get to sit?
I'm older than you.
We'll talk about that later. Anyway, so for January, I'd like to report out that I attended some in-person training in Garberville along with 3 of my investigators for the Northern California Coalition for Safer Communities. In attendance also were 4 members from the District Attorney's Office, 2 Deputy DAs, and 2 victim witness advocates. The NCCSC is a coalition of 5 counties: Trinity County, Siskiyou, Lake County, Humboldt, Mendocino. And it's a group of individuals, including their district attorneys. We're in the 3rd year, finishing up the 3rd year of a grant-funded 501c3. Our main purpose is to protect the safety of residents and the environment through a multidisciplinary approach to prevent human trafficking and other violent crimes, to dismantle transnational criminal organizations, and to mitigate environmental damage. And we started this through a benefactor through the Center to Combat Human Trafficking, which is basically a global organization that funds various types of endeavors to attack these types of crimes. This particular training that we went to was a day and a half, and we covered such things as field interviews, building a human trafficking case for prosecution, as well as trauma-informed interviews. And the second day, we were talking about money laundering and asset forfeiture. So it was a very good experience that we had there. And I think our district attorney's office benefited greatly from this experience as well. As I say, this is a 5-county endeavor, Throughout the time so far, there's been a few cases prosecuted. One, in fact, was prosecuted here in Trinity County a short time ago. Last week, I attended the quarterly State Sheriff's Association meeting. And we kind of joke about it. It's a quarterly meeting. It's held 5 times a year. So I don't know why they call it a quarterly meeting. But anyway, we had about 48 sheriffs in attendance. There's 58 in the state of California. We discussed quite a bit about the wildfires, call them wildfires, but in Los Angeles, devastating effects that they had down there. We talked to Sheriff Luna in depth about his issues that he had trying to coordinate responses with many agencies that they had down in that area. We're going to have in the future a more in-depth presentation about those issues that he incurred down there. We also had a lot of discussion about border security, changes that have occurred since the first of the year down there, as we had members of Border Patrol, Homeland Security, and FBI that also attend these meetings and present information to us. We talked quite a bit about recent court decisions with regard to law enforcement responding to mental health crisis issues involving armed and unarmed people who are experiencing those types of situations. And we also had quite a bit of discussion about the impacts of artificial intelligence in law enforcement and the future of security involving law enforcement organizations. Give you an update on some of our staffing that we have going on. February 28th was the Golden Handshake Day, as we call it. We had retire a senior correctional deputy from our jail with approximately 18 years of service, so he left us. One of our senior deputies, a corporal, he retired. And our senior records supervisor, she also retired. So this puts us in a little bit of a bind, losing some, not only institutional knowledge, but staffing wise. So I previously informed you that our records office is in a critical staffing situation now. We have temporarily changed our office lobby hours to 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, being open from the hours of 9 to 1. We're hoping this will be a temporary situation. We recently interviewed and in the process of hiring one records technician. We're hoping to be able to have that individual start in April because they're going to be temporarily unavailable. The training process will be a little bit longer since we now don't have anybody in the office to train her. So we are going to be relying on our current part-time individual to be able to provide some of that, and then we'll fill in the gaps as we can. As our lobby hours will be limited, we're going to be asking for all the regular services that we have provided in the past, such as CCW, both initial and renewals. Those will be by appointment only. Fingerprints by live scan will be by appointment only. Individuals will need to call the office on our regular line of 623-2611 and use the option of number 2 to get that answering line to make an appointment. We are continuing to recruit and test for correctional deputies. Last week was the latest round of testing. So we have some individuals on a list that we are following up with. The previous round of testing, we have several individuals in the background investigation phase. And as we're going through that, we just had 3 additional resignations from the jail. So it's a revolving door. We continue to test, we continue to put people in backgrounds, we hire, we get them in, and people leave. We were recently successful in recruiting and hiring an administrative coordinator. That position has in essence been vacant since last June. And we're in backgrounds on that individual, which we anticipate being completed within the next week or two. Everything else is complete, so we'll be able to get that individual into our administration office before too long. That's what I have for you at this point. I will entertain 2 questions.
I got a short one for you. So a couple years ago, we gave, I think it was $500,000 for retention bonuses for the sheriff's department. Looking back 2 years, do you think that that was money well spent, money half well spent, or did it work at all? And I'm not holding anything against you. If this comes down the road again, I'd like to know how much really worked towards retention.
Yes, sir. That's an excellent question. And number one, I'm not sure on the dollar figure. I can't remember what it was.
I think it was somewhere.
However, it was money well spent at that time. We were going through a very difficult time because of salaries in the surrounding counties had been going up at a astounding rate. At that time, I was losing individuals going to those other agencies. And the only way to retain them was to do something. It worked at that time. That incentive kept them for a period of time. Everyone that took that stayed for that period of time. I believe it was 2 years, 3 years, whatever was built into the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone who took that deal, who took the money, stayed for that period of time. After that period of time, a couple did leave, 2 or 3 did leave. The bad side of that is that those that did take that, my budget took the hit that following year, is that my overall budget was cut that amount of money, which did not allow me to hire for the people that did leave, that did not take that. So it was a good and bad situation, to be honest with you.
Any suggestions on how to do that better and retain these people for a longer period of time, not just giving them money with a handshake? Maybe parse it out over 5 years, something like that, so they stay 5.
Again, that's a really good question. I would love to be able to come back.
Yeah.
After I can study that a little bit and come back with a better, a chance to give you an answer on that. I cannot off the top of my head. I have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
But I would rather come back after I can break that down for you and maybe give you a better idea on what the cost would be to that for each one. I have some ideas, but I couldn't just give it to you right now in this environment.
That's fine, yeah. Anytime in the future that you can come up with some answers or give us some help. Not that we're gonna have another $500,000 for you.
I understand that,
But you never know.
But I see where you're thinking, and I'm just talking to you directly. I know it's not the board.
Mhm.
I'm just answering your question. There is something that needs to be done to retain, because I can tell you the environment that we're in right now, the way that this particular budget year has gone, there are sworn individuals that are at the point they will be considering other avenues of employment because they're not doing what it is they were hired to do. If that makes sense to you.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. So thank you, and get back to us whenever you can, or me. I don't know when this will happen again, but I'd like to spend that money as wisely as possible to retain as many people as possible.
I understand, and I appreciate your openness on that, your willingness to hold that conversation.
No worries. Do we have any other public comment?
Just one thing. So I'm looking at a recruitment type of thing because of maybe keeping people, young guys, from going out of the county for employment. Maybe we do some high school, if we could go up to the high schools, even in Southern Trinity where I am. I think we can get some of these young men that live where we are to go into maybe the reserves or some start of, it's just an angle of, once they live here, if they have family here, they might stay. There's other reasons besides money, I think, that they leave. And so I'd love to see some more recruitment, some more education to the young, to the high schools, to see if we can't gather these guys when they come out of, law enforcement is has a good light shining on it. And so it'd be good to get our own guys.
Excellent. And
Yep.
I love where you're going with that. In the past, we have recruited out of the high schools, and it's been very successful.
Okay.
We're at a point right now where not everyone that is resigning is going to another law enforcement agency. In fact, several of the folks that have resigned in the last 6 months have gone to another career that is not law enforcement, and it is for money.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm just concerned that I think county council can weigh in on this, but I think we are okay to ask questions, but we appear to be getting into a discussion about how to solve a problem, which I think has to be on the agenda.
Thank you. I was just reaching forward to grab my mic.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to reports.
Thank you.
Tim, thank you very much. Reports from CEO Tuthill.
Oh, didn't we?
Did you have another department
another
head wanting
department
to
head?
report out?
Oh, I thought you were, okay.
Oh.
Nope, okay.
All good? CEO Tuthill.
Chair, so I would like to recognize all of the department head reports that have been sent to the board and are now online on the website for public to review and view at their pleasure. On February 19th, staff received an in-depth demo from Acela for building planning and environmental health permitting processes. This is an electronic platform for tracking the permit through the entire process from application through final project completion. Obviously, there's many aspects and detail involved with this. We provided them some very basic information. They're going to provide us a rough order of magnitude for what this would cost as far as an implementation perspective, and then an ongoing annual fee. We do have a platform we partially use right now for some of this aspect, but there are some opportunities for efficiencies and for much better information sharing between the public applicant and the county. So as we get more information, this will probably be a topic that I'll need to bring back to the board, but I just wanted to let the full board know that we are looking at different platforms that many different jurisdictions are using right now. You might recognize the name Acela, as that is what we chose to go with for our cannabis licensing platform, in addition to the tax collection associated with the cannabis program. That platform will be going live here in March. That is going live for the cannabis and tax side of it in March. Next topic. So there's potential last mile federal funding account funds available. Trinity is one of 6 counties eligible for the round 2 funding, and this is for the whole larger broadband initiative. We're looking at all possible funding opportunities, so Trinity County will be in the best position to potentially get awarded some of this money. They're really targeting something for every county. We've been in discussions with the Golden State Connect Authority, which is a JPA of the 40 RCRC counties. And we've got them set up for a presentation to the board on April 1st, based upon the grant submission deadline of April 16th. And we'll probably be asking for a letter of support based upon that presentation and some other discussions that will be ongoing with them. But it is a very good opportunity for us to be put in a potential position to capture some of this funding, as this round 2, like I said, is only for the 6 counties who did not get selected for anything in round 1. Staff's also been working a potential Home Key Plus permanent supportive housing application. It appears we have a developer and owner operator for a potential Home Key Plus application. Over the next few weeks, there are some activities happening, and prior to the application, there'll be a need for a letter of support from the board. Many of these partnerships are just coming together. So as more information is finalized, I'll have something on the agenda for the full board letter of support. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that we're making some pretty good progress. Regarding the river releases and flow volumes, if you're tracking, the inflows to the lake are currently still more than the outflow. So the storage capacity is still over 2 million acre feet. The lake is currently higher than it was in early February timeframe when the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation started the safety of dam releases. So, I would, based upon previous discussions with the Bureau, as long as inflows are higher than outflows, the releases will probably remain somewhat steady to what we're seeing right now. As we get more information from the Bureau, we'll share it as we can, but they're doing a decent job getting that information out. We're also at a point where the next forecast, the next March B120 forecast should be out next week. And that's another data point that'll be used to make any adjustments in the time period for March 15th through April 15th, separate from any safety of dam releases. So there may be another data point to adjust some of the flows at that point. But again, that is separate from any of the safety of dam releases that we're currently seeing right now. The last topic I've got right now, when working with Heidi McHugh, who is a field representative from Assemblymember Chris Rogers' office. I know a couple of supervisors have reached out and made introductions and had some good electronic and virtual dialogue with her. She has agreed to come and provide a full presentation to the board on March 18th to give just kind of an all things overview of what Assemblyman Rogers is focusing on and how Trinity County can become involved with that and what we can ask for support from. We're also going to try to get as many county partners involved so her visit up here can be beneficial, and we'll work invitations or work information sharing with those other county partners so she can spend a good part of the day, or she's even indicated she may be able to spend 2 days up here. So we'll see how that goes. But again, that'll be a presentation on March 18th. And I'll wait for the homeless encampment for that update. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Okay, we will start with reports from members of the Board of Supervisors. And I will start off, since I think it kind of reaches out into everybody's meetings that they were at. So last 2 weeks ago, we had a Board of Supervisors meeting. Directly after that, myself, Heidi, Jill, and Julia, all 4 of us at that meeting. At the last go, which is not a Brown Act meeting, so we can't have more than 2 supervisors there. I was there purely as an alternate, just to see what was going and how it was moving along. Seems to be moving along great. Colette is doing a great job and very responsive to and knowledgeable about the needs that we have both in the District 1 water plant there and the Post Mountain Volunteer Fire Department. On Thursday, a couple of days later, we had a 2.5-hour TMC call, which is Training Management Council. We went over quite a few things there. And I guess, as reflected by Ben and anybody else who works for the government, federal government, most of that 2-hour meeting was talking about the cuts that may come, where they're at. They're not sure what's coming next, and what things may have to be put aside for a little while. And there probably will be quite a bit of that this year, I would imagine. One of the things that myself and Trinity County was focusing on was trying to get some sort of collaborative group. I'll say back in the day, there used to be TRP, Trinity River Restoration Program. Then there was TMC, the Trinity Management Council, and then there was TAMWAG, a advisory council that overlooked the TMC and TRRP. With the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, they got rid of that. I don't think they're going to bring that back, but I do think it's important to have public participation and to see how things just kind of churn along in the TMC, TRP kind of world, and just emotions that we have to go through to get small things through government. So I was somewhat tasked with, from Ty Whalen to come up with Kelly Sheen to help, and Duncan McIntosh to help maybe get a group of 10 or 12 people together for this very loosely formed, I'll say ad hoc of TMC and TRRP, which I think would be a good thing that we need quick. So I talked to Kelly and Duncan. We'll get that moving as soon as we can. And I want to say that I think a couple of meetings ago, I reported out that we did get the $86 million, or just under $70 million for the hatchery refurbishment. I had talked to Elizabeth Hadley about that at the meeting we had down in Reading. That money supposedly was, maybe Trent can speak to this more, but taken out of one box and put in another box that was already assigned to Trinity River. No one else can get to it. It's ours. Plans on. Building's going to get done. We'll have a nice refurbished hatchery by 2026. Don't worry, the federal government will not get to our money. Well, the federal government got to our money. So we are going to probably see some either delays on the hatchery refurbishment, or certainly some scaling back from what was planned. And we have no upcoming date on that. They're all in limbo right now. So I'll keep you updated on that, but I hated to see that happen. After that meeting, TMC, the 2-hour phone meeting, I drove down to meet with Mike Orcott, leader of the Hoopa Valley Tribe Fisheries, to talk about a loose collaboration, myself, Trent, Mike Orcott, Justin Alvarez, and the Steve Madrone from Humboldt, and the Yurok Valley Tribe got together to start to think about a small collaboration and what we might be able to do in the future with the downriver water user contract that was put into the contract when they built the dam just before 1959. This contract was put out there. No one's really grabbed the water yet. Now that the water is becoming important, we're starting to see some people reach out, including Trinity County, to try to get a fair share of that and to make sure that we can keep most of that up here for at least Proviso 2 water to help the fishery. So we are working on that. Tiffany, who mentioned the radiation and the microwave deal, I just want to let her know that there will be a town hall on the 26th of May I'm not sure if it will be at Northern Delights, which is reopening. It looks beautiful there, or back at the Roderick Center. I will speak out on that before that meeting. One other thing, this has nothing to do with politics, but it's a great thing. The Weaverville Girls High School basketball team tonight plays for the championship, and I think this may be the furthest the Weaverville girls varsity basketball has ever gone in the history of Weaverville's high school girls basketball. So it's a big deal. I mean, it's when you're up here and playing, you got a school that has 298 students total, and then you go play a school that has 3,000 students total, and that's where we're at now, and we're still winning. Big props to the high school girls basketball team, and I can't leave out Hayfork because they're just winning everything. It's a basketball, soccer, it doesn't matter. Hayfork wins. They're fantastic. So I will let the next person speak, whoever that may be, and go next. I'm not looking at you.
I can go.
Either
All
way.
right, so I have some great things that happened over the time I've been away here. So we've had Trent sent me some information on some more hires for our road crew in Xenia Ruth. So we are actively trying to get the road crew together so our roads can be maintained. And I want to thank the Department of Transportation in Panos for sticking in there and trying to get our guys in place to do some maintenance and road fix. I met with Angela Blanchard in the agricultural division, which is very important to our area in the southern part of Trinity with cattlemen. So we're trying to get some really creative ideas about possibilities of maybe stockyards, things up there that we can do. And, obviously the roads will help them too, and some, maybe some grants on some, doing some big farmer market type things up there, which is really important for our area. We have a lot of wonderful, talented farmers, vegetable farmers, all kinds of farmers. And so we're doing a lot of really great work with them. Let's see, I met with Christy Anderson at the environmental health because of septic systems. And in our own, where we were, the August complex fire burned a lot of ground, a lot of septic systems, a lot of homes. And so I want to get something, together with her to alleviate some of the pain on septic systems and permitting processes with the building department. So that was a really wonderful meeting with her. I'm encouraged by some of her ideas and some participation with me on that. And we'll be working diligently on getting some help for that. I met with the assessor, Jana White, yesterday for taxes. That's also been an issue in our area with tax assessments, burned properties. And so I got some great information, great documents, great plan of attacks for getting properties taxes lowered in some cases and eliminated in some cases, and assessments coming down in some ways. So I'm very encouraged about that too. That highly impacts my area, and I'm sure many areas here. Also, let's see. Oh, I went to the new supervisor training at CSAC, which was a wealth of information for me because I'm learning all of the new things I need to know to be a good supervisor, an effective one. They were wonderful. I met a lot of great people and a lot of collaboration is coming out of those. So thank you. And except besides CSAC, no out of state or out of county travel. And looking good. Things are moving forward. That's
Jill?
Thank you, Chair. I have no out-of-county travel to report. I attended the first 5 commission meeting on the 24th. With the recent retirement of our behavioral health executive director and our public health nurse, there are 2 vacant positions, but the commission still has a quorum of 4 among the 5-seat voting board and decided to meet some current obligations that are in process before working to fill that 5th seat. With regard to the LAFCO meeting, I was afforded the honor of serving as chair of that body for the year. The commission approved the municipal service review and sphere of influence update for the Trinity Waterworks District 1, along with 2 applications for annexation to the district. I would just provide a clarifying comment with regard to that body. It is a Brown Act body, but the reason that for Board of Supervisors can be in attendance at that meeting is because that does not constitute a quorum among that full body. The NorCal EMS moving to the NorCal JPA is something I have discussed in the past. I won't speak to that as that is on the consent calendar before us today. With regard to RC, an item coming before that executive committee is to create a public sector recruitment and retention ad hoc. And I have been invited to serve as the vice chair of that ad hoc and appreciate that invitation. It's an honor and feel that that will be an advantage to us, as I have been invited to provide not just a rural perspective, but a frontier perspective. I want to share that PUD, if you're unaware, lobbies heavily for the needs of the PUD itself, but also for the needs of our county. And recently, the Senate passed the Huffman-LaMaffa Bill, HR 3324, to extend the authority to collect Shasta Trinity marine fees through fiscal year 2029. Unfortunately, the Padilla bill to extend the authority permanently did not advance, but we at least have a few more years and certainly can lobby for that in the future. But this is significant because this keeps our marine fees within the Shasta Trinity National Forest Recreation Area rather than those funds returning to the Treasury. So do want everyone to be aware of the efforts of the PUD on all of our behalf and express our gratitude to them for that. Another point of awareness that you may wish to become involved in the coming months, the CPUC will hold in-person and virtual public forums to receive customer input regarding its carrier of last resort proceeding, a topic we've discussed many times among ourselves and even voted to send a letter collectively as this board. The carrier of last resort proceeding will consider updates and changes to rules that currently require universal access to essential telecommunication services. As an example, basic telephone service to any resident or business customer upon request and at affordable prices. Carrier of last resort rules provide a critical safety net, ensuring that customers in rural areas who may not be served by high-quality alternative services, such as adequate cell phone coverage or high-speed broadband, can retain access to reliable essential services. While the in-person opportunities are only as near as Sacramento and further south, the virtual opportunities are convenient and easily achieved. If anyone is interested in supporting this important topic by providing public comment, I have walked through that process twice. It looks a little daunting on the face and really is not. I would be happy to assist in that, provide dates and the ability to do so, and assure you that it would be meaningful if that topic is something that is of importance to you. And that is the end of my report. Thank you, Chair.
Rick?
Okay. For District 1, I participated in my first Behavioral Health Advisory Board meeting where we appointed Liz Hamilton as the Mental Health Director and AOD Administrator. And that is pending, quote, approval by DHCS, which I gather is more acknowledgement than approval, but it's a process that we are now waiting on still. It was great to meet with that group and see the work that's being done. Amity is an organization that I was introduced to at CSAC. They're highlighted as one of the new organizations working with our counties, and they provide services that help those facing marginalization, due to a variety of factors, including poverty, incarceration, addiction. The main thing that was interesting to me is they are a nonprofit and they help jurisdictions like ours get the funding for them to use in providing services on our constituents' behalf. So in addition to all the great things that we're doing internally with all the money that we can get our hands on, if we choose to work with somebody like that, they can come in and help us get money and then help implement that money in those programs and do reporting and so forth. So it's just another option that we have. And I pass along information through the clerk of the board to all the members of the board so that you would have that information, and something that at this point, to me, it's up to staff if I think that's something of interest, but I'm happy to connect the dots and set up another meeting. I had one with them last week. At the SCED board meeting, which is the economic development group for our region, we established an ad hoc committee to finalize the strategic plan that I've mentioned having been worked on for a while. We kept trying to squeeze it in 45 minutes at a time in a board meeting, and that just doesn't work. So we finally established an ad hoc, and we will be wrapping up that. That meeting was held in Reading. The grand jury report worked on with staff to prepare the board response that we have on our agenda today. In the NORTEC board meeting, and this is the workforce development group for our region, there is a requirement every 4 years to do RFPs. And so all of our providers, or an RFP went out for anyone who wanted to provide services to our multiple counties in that organization's region. The same providers that have been serving these counties made their proposals. We approved all, with one of them needing some additional data to be submitted before the ad hoc committee could sign off. But once they do, then they are pre-approved by the board. So we should not see any change in the services that were provided here in Trinity County. The Tourism Development Advisory Board, we had our first meeting last week. It was great to get everybody together finally. I was appointed as secretary. Everybody was very quickly trying to avoid that wonderful duty. And since I take notes anyway, I volunteered, and so I'll be doing that. And the advisory board approved the Civitas proposal, which was the foundation of what the board was looking at when they approved the $30,000 allocation and established this committee. And so we will now be able to sign that contract and officially move forward with them. We've already scheduled our next meeting for Monday, March 10th from 3:30 to 5. I haven't reserved this room yet, but I need to. And those are public meetings. Anyone can participate. There was one person briefly online, but they dropped off pretty quickly. So it was just the board members meeting. TCDC, mentioned before, this is the local nonprofit doing community development, submitted a grant for a USDA Rural Business Opportunity Grant. And the funding request is for the Weaverville Forward, a business plan for downtown revitalization project. And the idea is to help revitalize Trinity County's largest community through a grant that helps us plan for specifically the revitalization of downtown Weaverville. So I think it's a $50,000 ask. We had great support from Assembly member that was mentioned, Congressman
Rogers.
Yes, Assemblymember Rogers, congressmen and senators and economic development groups on the coast and here, Siskiyou Economic Development Council, everybody was jumping in to help us with that. So we're hopeful that we will be able to get that money and work with the community on a plan for how that revitalization might look and what it would take to make it a reality. That's it for me.
You're good.
Sure. I forgot one thing that I wanted to mention.
Good.
I had 2 town halls also, and they were really great. They were informative. We had a lot of people there, and we went back and forth asking questions, and it was an open kind of a forum, and we had some great input. It's exactly where I like to be to get information from our community, and I'm just really impressed with the turnout, with people that are involved in it, that want to be. We're going to do some really good things for the county and for our district up there, I think, with all the people behind us. So yeah, I'm liking the results. Thank you, Chair.
Julie,
Letting me
where do you have your town halls?
I have them at the community, one is at the community hall in Mad River, and that's at 5 o'clock on the last Thursday of every month. And then Wednesday, the last Wednesday of every month, I have them one over in Xenia at 5 o'clock. And I'll put it in I'll try to get it in the paper so that everybody can see them, but they're going to be a great avenue.
And CEO's at Hill, almost encampment.
Okay, Leah, can you bring up those slides, please? You can roll to the next one. From my last update on February 18th, we have started the fuels reduction and vegetative management efforts with the CAL FIRE Conservation Camp crews. You can see some photos here up on the screen. They're on the left. If you drive by the Lance Gulch Bridge area, Lance Gulch and Highway 3 there, you'll see on one side, which is county-owned property, they did some great job on some vegetative management efforts in about 4.5 days. So they are not out there as we speak right now. They got pulled off to do another effort somewhere else. They will be back. The schedule is for them to be back next week, and they'll work in the Browns Ranch Bridge area and then on the west side of or on the Lance Gulch Road side of the Lance Gulch Bridge. So really happy with them and the efforts and grateful for the partnership there. Then following that, some of your Trinity County deputies, Sheriff's Office deputies, took it upon themselves to go in and remove some trash as they were in, talking with other individuals who were down there that were more than likely trespassing on county property. And they were able to pull out, like it says up there on the screens, a little over a ton of trash, and you can see the types of items that were down in the areas. So just big thanks out to them and the whole group who is working on this. We do have a next ad hoc meeting on March 6th. So on Thursday at 1 p.m. in this room, we'll discuss a draft ordinance amendment that council has drafted up and that I just sent out to the group today for review. We'll talk about the status of the camp walk that will have occurred by the time we meet again. We'll talk about some outcomes and next steps, and we'll further refine, how we're going to use the crisis tracker tool, and then work on some community outreach and education efforts. That's all I've got for now.
I'm sorry, Trent, were you saying that you have that on an upcoming agenda and you said something about sending something out this morning?
I sent out to the ad hoc group, the
to
draft ordinance that
okay.
we put together.
Great, thank you.
So they'll do a full review of that, and then we'll talk about it at the ad hoc, make any adjustments and decide what the next step is.
And for the public, the times of both meetings, the tourism and the homeless encampment?
The Tourism Development Advisory Board meeting is on Monday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. We're hoping that is our regular meeting time every other week, but we'll have to manage schedules and make sure this room is available.
And Trent, your time for your meeting on
March 6th, Thursday at 1 p.m.
Is that everybody? Let's take a 5-minute break. All right, we are back. It is 10:39, and we will move into the consent calendar. These items include routine, non-controversial matters and will be acted upon by the board by one roll call motion. If a member of the public has any questions or comments on an item on the consent calendar, they may provide them now. A member of the board or staff may request an item be pulled and considered separately.
I do know we have at least one public comment.
We got,
Hi, Christine Edwards. This is concerning D14, the approval of the budget for the 18,000. I'm just here to just get an update on where you got that. That was the SPCA grant that TASA got. They got a $36,000 grant. And I see that the county is splitting that up to 18,000 and 18,000. TASA, as you know, did an MOU and we gave 35,000 in December. We gave another 35,000 in February. We're hoping that this extra funds that you're getting from this operational cost, which we're paying operational cost, will be used first, and extra money that's saved from the TASA that we've given you can roll over to next year. This is what we'd like to see. And we'd also saw that and this is a part-time person. So hopefully that gets taken care of as soon as possible, because there is money in there for another part-time person for the shelter. And so total, we've given you 70,000. We have a great writing team, writers now, and we have 2 more grants that are going on that we're hopefully going to get for the shelter. Update on what shelter, that TASA continues to help pay for medical bills and the spay and neuter and stop the over-pet population. So we're continuing to do that. Last year, we spent $45,840.34, additional to the 70 we've put out. So we're continuing to help the shelter. We're going to continue to support the over-pet population and help the public to get their animals fixed. So we'll continue to do that. And we'll see what the next budget brings. And that's all I wanted to let you know, is that I didn't say where it came from, but we have a great writing team. And again, we're looking at 2 more grants, because the shelter needs a facelift. You know, it's been there since. And so we're looking at stuff to help get it a facelift for maintenance and things around there. So we're working on that too. And then we'll let you know when we get that. So just update. Thank you.
thank you very much. Does anybody from the public or staff want to pull an item?
I would like to pull item D13.
D13?
Yes.
Anybody else?
You do have a public comment or Zoom.
We have public comment on Zoom? I'll take that, please.
Good morning, Ben from Weirville again. D16, ratifying the sheriff's signature on DOJ DEA cannabis enforcement agreement. While I have concerns regarding this, it's nothing is coming out of our general fund. It's the DEA and the feds are paying us to do enforcement. I feel like our sheriff's department could be spending its time doing other things, while the agreement number 2025-45 spells out that it's for, marijuana is being cultivated by drug trafficking organizations or transnational agreements. Marijuana is being cultivated on federal land, including federally recognized tribal lands, or otherwise. Marijuana cultivation is causing environmental hazards, depleting or contaminating water, or otherwise harming public lands, or impacting and involving other federal crimes, including money laundering and impacting public health and safety. We've had a really unfortunate circumstances in the past where things have gone off the rails as far as, raids and enforcement. And I'm just concerned, what safeguards and guardrails do we have that this is going to not impinge on Trinity County people who are growing cannabis legally, because everything federally is illegal. So technically they could come in here and basically do whatever they want based upon our new administration. I think this should be pulled and put on a docket for another meeting and kind of dive into it a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Anybody else?
No new raised hands.
No more in the room? Okay.
I'll go ahead and ask that we pull D16 just so we can have discussion.
16.
Right. You see the sheriff's still here, so he'll give a chance to explain.
Okay, we will go through.
I make a motion to approve all other items on the consent calendar as presented.
I will second.
Supervisor Gogan,
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield.
Aye.
And Trent, we'll start with yours, number D14.
I believe that was.
So it's
13.
D13.
I'm sorry.
And the only reason I asked this to be pulled was after we published the agenda prior to today's meeting, we have one more allocation that we would like to add to the list so we can begin immediate recruitment. The one allocation is in Health and Human Services under admin. We want to add one branch director for health services. This will take the total allocations for that description of branch director from 2 to 3. So it's just that one add that we would like to request of the board.
Can I understand the extent to which we can modify the agenda as we're voting on the day? You're adding this in the moment, and I'm wondering the extent to which we can do that.
So is your question because it wasn't on the original notice?
Yes.
Your point is well taken, that typically we do recommend that you notice it so the public has an opportunity to respond. This is somewhat more routine, so I leave it at your discretion, but and based on the emergency components to it, but typically we do recommend that you have them listed in advance.
So it does sound like there is an emergency component to this, something that needs to be initiated immediately.
That's what we're asking for. I mean, it's not an quote emergency, but I think this is fairly routine business. And is all we're doing is just asking for one more allocation versus, 2 or 3 versus 2. And if there's any public input on that, we can certainly take it now.
Okay, understood.
And to clarify too, the allocation just basically means that it's there on the organizational chart to then be separately submitted for funding and so forth.
For this one, that it'll allow them to begin immediate recruitment. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if they may already have funding, if they already have funding in their overall budget based upon other positions that may be vacant or not, or how their overall funding for that department is, they may be able to recruit and fill without coming and asking for funding as well.
But they would have to come ask for funding if they need more funding.
Absolutely. If it exceeds their current budget authority, they would have to ask for funding as well.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any comment in the room?
I move to approve D13 as presented with the modification just mentioned by CAO Tuthill.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye. D16 was pulled by Ben and Rick. Did you have a question?
I just wanted to, because there was concerns, just a chance for the sheriff to be able to talk through this. I think I'm familiar with it, but I just wanted to make sure since the questions were raised, I think it's better to go ahead and address them. So if we, I guess we read it into the record and then the sheriff can speak to it and we can take questions and public comment and all that good stuff.
Well, does the board specifically have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, then I will address this. This is an ongoing item that has been approved by the board, brought to the sheriff's office for many, many years. This is basically a grant that comes from the federal government to the sheriff's office. This is funding. It's not an automatic $75,000 that comes into revenue. We would conduct operations on federal land on a reimbursable basis. Anything that we expend, we bill to the grant, and then we are reimbursed for this from the standpoint of either equipment or overtime hours, per diem, things of that nature. This is only on federal land. And again, I don't know what else I can address on this other than the caller mentioned something about going off the rails. I don't know what specifically that may be, but in the lifetime that we've had this particular agreement, we've had no incidents that I can recall, unless you can speak to something.
My best guess is the reference to the dog.
That was not in reference to any monies on this particular grant. That particular incident was not on federal land.
And I think the other thing, Sheriff, is there was the comment about basically a strain on your already, short-staffed organization. And so if you could speak to how this funding supports versus
I can.
strains.
These are all, anything associated with this money is on overtime hours. So these are not using regular hours to our personnel. So these are operations that are made up specifically based upon information that we've gathered either from our own staff or combined with Forest Service law enforcement or in combination with other jurisdictions such as the information and working relationship that we get with Siskiyou County, Humboldt County, Lake County, and also Mendocino County. So when they develop surveillance information or coordinated information from one of their investigations and it leads to federal property, then we work in conjunction with them with this operation.
Yeah, just one more question. I think the caller was referring to, too, just want to make sure that those are on federal land and not being used to go after illegal growth. That's one of the things that he mentioned. So I think their just concern is that, that we use these funds.
There are no legal grows on federal land.
Right, legal, yeah, the federal.
With
Well-
mentioning with the Trump administration specifically, this grant has been around for many, many, many years, regardless whether it is a Democratic political affiliation or a Republican
Right,
political affiliation. It has no affiliation to any type of party.
right. So our county has certain rules and they have legal permitting, permitted growth. So that's just his concern that, that the illegal grows are, or the legal grows are not.
I understand.
I know the federal government is different, but, that's his concern and it's valid.
Have I addressed your concern?
Yes, you have.
Okay.
And County Council, just to clarify, since we're handling this item as a one-off out of the consent calendar, do we need to read the item into the record? And we're already having the question and answer, but read it in, then get the public comment and all that kind of
We
stuff?
need to do it like a
Okay.
formal item. It becomes a regular agenda item. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
want to read in D16?
I am ready. Are you
Okay.
ready? To ratify the sheriff's signature on the agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice providing $75,000 in funding for investigation and eradication of cannabis.
And I will move to approve as presented.
Did we take?
Oh, public comment. Thank you. Sorry.
Public comment? In the room? Zoom?
No new raised hands.
Well, you were right.
Now, move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
And just quick for discussion, thank you, Sheriff. I didn't have any concerns of my own, just really wanted to give you a chance to be able to explain that because I think there could have been concerns raised by the public comment, and I didn't want people walking away with that when at least I didn't feel there was anything to be concerned, so thank you.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye. We will now move on to public hearings. E1, County Administrative Office, conduct a public hearing to discuss the completion of the following community development block grant projects and authorize County Administrative Officer Trent Tuthill or Senior Financial Analyst Susie Hawkins to sign any document necessary to complete the closeout process. Trinity County Food Assistance Program, Grant Award number 20-CDBG-12020. Hayfork Park Updates, Grant Award number 20-CDBG-PI-12012. North Fork Range ADA Bathroom Upgrade, Grant Award number 20-CDBG-PI-12014. And ADA Accessible Upgrades, Grant Award numbers 21-CDBG-PI-00038. There she is.
So back when we had a functioning grant division, we applied for some CDBG grants and those projects, those are the 4 projects that are listed. Those have been completed, and we're ready to finalize, close them out with the state. And one of those requirements is this public hearing where we present you with the information in the staff report about the project, when it was completed, how much we spent on it, and what it funded. And that's all I have. Unless you have any specific questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Does the board have any specific questions?
And County Council, in this case, do we really have a motion and such? Or we're just allowing this to happen and then we move on? I can't remember how we handle these.
No, we do have a formal motion.
Yeah.
To basically approve the closing out of these as presented.
That is correct.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
And to authorize Trent and I to sign any closeout documents necessary.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I just would ask you to go ahead and clarify. I know what you meant, but I don't think the public, and I am concerned that they may have a wrong impression when we say that we used to have a functioning grants division. Offer some clarity there, if you would, how that was within housing and not broadly with countywide.
So we had 2 employees housed under what we called a grants division. It started out with the intent of applying for grants, and it quickly morphed into more of a housing-focused grant division, where the employees focused mostly on providing housing-related grants. When our division director gave her resignation, we reorged that, and the non-housing related grants, the 4 projects that you're seeing before you, stayed with the admin. And then all of the housing related functions shifted over to Health and Human Services. And so those needs are still being met. They're just being met through our Health and Human Services agency or department, and not a grants division.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Supervisor Cox, I appreciate your bringing that up because I have to say I shared something yesterday on social media about an opportunity for organizations to go learn about how to do better grant writing. And one of the comments posted back was, well, is the county sending someone? Because I think there's this view that, well, the county doesn't have enough money, they need to do more grants. And so people could interpret that and say, oh, well, we don't do grants. And the county does a huge amount of grant writing.
of grants.
So I just wanted to make sure, I appreciate you bringing that up for clarification because it could have led people to have the wrong understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, most departments get grants in some form or fashion to a certain degree. And they are responsible for writing those grants and managing those grants and reporting on those grants. We don't have a centralized division that does that.
Thank you.
Anybody else question? None at all. Do we have anybody in the room or on Zoom for public comment?
Duncan?
Hi, good day. Duncan McIntosh of Junction City as the president of the North Fork Grange, who is an organization who is a recipient of one of these grants. I would just like to express my gratitude for this opportunity. The North Fork Grange Hall serves as hall, as you all know, and also serves as a place to come together in times of emergencies on many different levels. And having a bathroom that is ADA compliant really expands to our ability to serve the community as a whole. And this level of grant is something that as a small nonprofit like ourselves would never have been able to afford without this grant. So huge gratitude, as well as a massive amount of appreciation to Susie Kokums, the prior grant writer or administrator, to help us to navigate this very complex, I mean, federal and state grants are very complex. And so as a nonprofit volunteer-based organization, it was above our ability for the most part. And she really helped us navigate and held our hands to the process so that we could have a beautiful ADA compliant bathroom for our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. Anybody else?
No new raised hands.
I would move completion of this closeout process along with the authorization of the CAO or the senior financial analyst to sign any associated documents.
I'll second that motion. Oh, go ahead,
I'll second
Supervisor
that.
Brownfield.
Thank you. I'll second that.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye. Anybody need a break? We're going. We'll start with county matters. These items include non-routine or controversial matters and are listed alphabetically by department. A member of the board, staff, or public may request that an item be heard out of order. Do you have anybody want to take anything out of order? Carol, you were looking at me like you had something. Okay, very, all right. Board.
Yes, since I am the one who worked on this, I will present. So the grand jury report that we received.
I believe he's read the item yet. He's just asking if you want to take something out of order.
Okay.
Yeah, that, where I was going first. Does anybody on the board want to take anything out of order?
No, thank you.
Okay, then we'll start with F1. Board of Supervisors, approve the Board of Supervisors response to the grand jury report 2024, Trinity County Grand Jury Report, deaths at the Trinity County Correctional Facility.
Okay. And I was appointed back when we received the report to work with staff on the report that is attached in our backup materials. I collaborated with sheriff, other members of staff, CAO Tuthill, county council, and pulled together the report that we see. As you've observed in reading through the report, because of active litigation, there are limits on what we can and cannot respond to at this time. So it's perhaps a little unusual in the reports and the responses that we usually submit. So I'll take any questions that you have for me as the person that drafted.
I have none.
Julia, any questions? Do we have any public comment in the room? On Zoom?
No raised hands.
I would move to approve the board response to this grand jury report as presented.
I'll second.
And I'm sorry, I just wanted to offer thanks to Supervisor Lutweiler. I have been the person to write these in the past, and it is not an easy job. This one had an additional element of unease that was associated with it. And thank you for your efforts.
Okay.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Litweiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
F2, Health and Human Services, Office of Emergency Services, accept donation of a 22 kW generic generator with a 200A transfer switch from the Trinity Center Community Service District to be used at the IOOF Hall in Trinity Center, California. No impact to the general fund. Installation costs will be paid for by OES, contingent upon state and federal project modifications and approval. Liz, how are you?
Good morning.
Good.
Liz Hamilton, Director of Office of Emergency Services, presenting this item. This is a formality because this is a county-owned facility. To receive any donation, we have to have that approved by the board. And you'll note in the fiscal impact, with OES funds, we earmark all dollars spent a year in advance. And so because this is a new project, we have to get approval from our funding sources to add this to our projects list. So should that be approved, this would be a source of funding for that completion. If it is denied by our funders, then we will bring that back to the community. But this has been a great collaborative effort with our partners. I know Carol's here this morning as well. So happy to take any questions.
Board have any questions?
I know that there was something raised about who was responsible for the ongoing maintenance that came into us. Do we need to change that for what we're approving? Or is that just backup information that we just need to be aware of it?
Thank you for bringing that up, Supervisor Lutweiler. So there was a point of clarification in the discussion that the maintenance will be taken care of by the North Lake Improvement Association, but that is really just inconsequential to this particular ask to receive a donation.
Okay. Other questions?
Do we have any public comment in the room? Carol?
My name is Carol Fall. I'm the Assistant Chief at Trinity Center Volunteer Fire Department, which is a department of the Trinity Center Community Services District, which is why I'm speaking on this issue. During the November storms, we had multi-day power outages in Trinity Center, the service area, in freezing weather. So we had families sleeping in cars with their kids, trying to stay warm. Fire department was concerned about carbon monoxide poisoning. So I worked with the entity that manages the Oddfellows Hall to contact Humboldt Area Foundation to apply for a grant to purchase a generator so that they could serve as a warming center. Within a few days, Humboldt Area Foundation notified us that they were giving us disaster response funding. The check arrived a week later. We ordered the generator. It has arrived. It's been sitting in our fire department waiting to be installed. So as staff pointed out, the Oddfellows Hall is a county building. But since 1975, it's been maintained and operated by a local improvement Association through an MOU with the county. So the North Trinity Lake Improvement Association, NTLIA, is a nonprofit that maintains the building. You know, they have pancake breakfast, taco feeds, donations, and they pay for all the utilities, maintenance, improvements. Because of the very short timeframes with this grant turnaround, the Humboldt Area Foundation asked the Community Services District to be the fiscal sponsor. They just weren't familiar with NTLIA. So I realize it's kind of confusing, but the Community Service District agreed to be the fiscal sponsor, received the grant, owns the generator, and so that's why the CSD is the donor to the Oddfellows Hall. We're a pretty small community. We work across boundaries with all these kind of grant applications, getting things done, and I apologize for the confusion. But the bottom line is that if the county accepts the donation of the generator, the North Trinity Lake Improvement Association, which currently maintains and operates the hall, has agreed to maintain and operate the generator also, because I know that was one of the questions. There's no county obligation to maintain or operate the generator. So we are asking that the county accept the donation of the generator to hopefully be installed on a county building. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them also. Thank you.
Carol, thank you.
Mhm.
Any more public comment in the room?
No raised hands on Zoom.
Nothing on Zoom?
I move to approve as presented.
I will second.
And then for discussion, I just wanted to thank Carol and all the folks that you worked with and members of staff that have been working to get through the bureaucracy that's associated with making something good happen. But I really appreciate all the work that went into making this a reality, and would have been great. Of course, we got it in sooner during our really cold snap, but at least we'll have it now.
Just 2 seconds. We did have a GoFundMe account and fundraisers, so the community's contributing $1,000 towards the installation. So we've been raising our own money for installation. Thank you.
Take a motion.
Already
You
did.
got it.
Excuse me, a vote, I'm sorry.
Supervisor Gogan.
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler.
Aye.
Supervisor Cox.
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield.
Aye.
F3, County Administrative Office, appointed board chair and vice chair for the Tourism Development Advisory Board for the calendar year of 2025. CEO Tuthill.
Thank you, Chair. So in the previous meeting, we appointed members from the 4 of the 5 districts. There was discussion about chair and vice chair. We did not have that specific item on the agenda. So it is now on this agenda. As was previously announced, a meeting has already taken place. We've already, published minutes and agendas and that kind of stuff.
not necessarily incompatible with the chair.
So I would move that the chairmanship position be designated as Supervisor Lutweiler and the vice chair position as recommended by CAO be a non-supervisor, and so Ryan Crockett in that position. So that's a motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second that.
And just for discussion purposes, I mean, I'm happy to take on both roles as CEO Tuttle pointed out. I've been trying to move this process along and organize and structure it. And so I would appreciate the opportunity to continue to do that. And then as I think Supervisor Gogan was mentioning, we could at the next meeting ask if someone else would like to step up and be the secretary. Again, I just, when nobody else wanted to do it and the one person whose name was mentioned said, please no, I said, I already take notes. If you want, I can do that. So if we have a conflict, if county council, if we determine later that there's a problem, then we can reelect.
Understood. Thank you.
Supervisor Brownfield,
Aye.
Supervisor Cox,
Aye.
Supervisor Litweiler,
Aye.
Supervisor Gogan.
F4, CAO office, take the following actions to create a Health and Human Services Agency, HHSA, and transition behavioral health services at HHSA effective March 1, 2025. 1, approve the job descriptions, set the salary range, add to the alphabetical listing of classifications, and allocate to Health and Human Services, Director of Health and Human Services Agency at range D110.
Do we take the
You wanna read it?
entire item
If you could
together?
read all those 5 items in.
Number 2, pursuant of County Code 2.60.360, reclassify employee ID 01728 from a Director of Health and Human Services to a Director of Health and Human Services Agency at range D110, Step E. 3, pursuant to Welfare and Institutions Code 5607, appoint Elizabeth Hamilton as a local Director of Mental Health Services. And number 4, pursuant to Department of Healthcare Services Program Classification Section 13005, appoint Elizabeth Hamilton as Alcohol and Other Drug Program Administrator. Number 5, adopt a resolution designating the Director of Health and Human Services Agency as Director of the Emergency Services. Approximate costs and salary and benefits for a Director of Health and Human Services Agency at Step A is $19,115, and it's at E Step is $22,980.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
So all 5 of those items are, sub items under the overall item of F4. So thank you for reading those in. So as previously discussed in here, we are establishing the Health and Human Services Agency. We've already taken steps to do that, and this is part of the administrative actions that we need to continue. As has also previously been discussed in here, our prior Behavioral Health and Services Director was appointed as the County Mental Health Director and also the Alcohol and Other Drug Program Administrator. So with her retirement, as of last Friday, close of business, we need to appoint a new one. We have gone through all the administrative actions required. We've gone out to all this is outlined in the staff report, so I'm just going to touch on a few things as that staff report is pretty extensive. We've gone out and sampled all the other county health and human service agency organizations, and we established the salary range, and it's presented as such. And then the other items in there, the actual, they're more administrative, just appointing Liz to the new position. And then as Supervisor Leutwiler alluded to, we had the Behavioral Health Advisory Board appointed Liz, and this is the next process in that this board actually appoints her, and then we will send a packet to DHCS at the state, and they will basically acknowledge that appointment. But this is the appointing governing board right here. So with that, I'll stop and take any questions you may have from the staff report.
Does the board or staff have any questions?
Just a clarification of what the change to an agency for the public, maybe what the advantages are to that, and very briefly, I know it's complicated.
It is. We've had that discussion here
Okay.
a few times before, just for your awareness. So
Yeah,
this is not new, but we have had that discussion. A number of other counties have already done this, and the lessons learned are it provides a full wraparound organization, being the county, who provides services to potential clientele within the county. That many times the same clientele are receiving services from the behavioral health side as they are from the social service side or welfare side. So a lot of the same clientele are being seen in the past by two different organizations, two different leadership chains, two different processes oftentimes, and this brings it all under one organizational structure. It's much more efficient, and we are planning on realizing some of those efficiencies, not necessarily from a staff, there would be some from a staff perspective, but I believe the public will realize more of these, and the public are those individuals who are currently and will be in the future served by the Health and Human Services Agency.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Do not.
We have public comment in the room on Zoom.
Ben?
Just a clarifying question. Step A and step E numbers, that is monthly, correct?
Ben, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can the room hear me?
Yep.
No. Yes, we can now.
Okay. Clarifying question. The step A through E numbers, that's monthly, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll bring it back.
No, there is.
I'll bring it back to the board for a motion.
I move to approve as presented.
I will second.
And just as an opportunity to comment during our discussion, my thanks to Director Hamilton. I think maybe it's not always so obvious when we say people wear multiple hats, but it's pretty clear here. And we thank you for stepping up. I know you already had a huge organization with a lot of complex and important services to be delivered, funding requirements, all those things. And I appreciate you being willing to step up and take this on, and look forward to seeing what that means for both the communities that we serve, but also for the staff that are delivering them. I know you're excited about that, and I am too. Thank you.
Supervisor Gogan?
Aye.
Supervisor Litwiler?
Aye.
Supervisor Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Brownfield?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to report out from last closed session. Government Code Section 54954-5C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, case number 221CV-02248-JAM-DMC. Direction was given to staff. Do you have any public comment? In, out? we will adjourn for our next one, correct?
Chair, if you could just make a quick announcement that we're going to adjourn this meeting and then we're going to go into probably in 5 minutes-ish, probably, I'd just say 10 minutes. So to say for easy purposes, 11:40,
Okay.
we'll start the special meeting, which is focusing on the housing element.
Okay, the Board of Supervisors will take a break till 11:40 to get ready for the housing element of the Planning Commission.